Hello everybody, thanks for joining this video. Today I'm going to talk about why certain antagonists stand out while others don't, especially in films. One thing that really frustrates me in recent films nowadays is their portrayal of their antagonists. They're just bland and mundane, they're just there so that the story can go forward. There's no deeper connection between them and the protagonist of the story. I'll get to that in a minute later, but first I just want to clarify certain things. I see this common misunderstanding where certain people think antagonist and villain are the same thing, and I just want to say they are not the same thing. They are two different things. An antagonist of the story is someone who creates obstacles and challenges for the protagonist to overcome, whereas a villain is just this straight up evil dude who does evil stuff. Yes. Let's take an example here. L from Death Note. He's the antagonist of the story Death Note. Light is the protagonist. Does that mean L is a villain? No, not really. He's just the antagonist. Now let's get back to why certain antagonists really stand out from the others. And the three main examples I'm going to use in this video are Johann Liebert from Monster, Death from Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, as well as Joker from The Dark Knight. Of course, there are many other great examples like Hannibal Lecter, Lalo Salamanca, Shen, Grimmel, Anton Chigurh, Gus Fring, and so many others, but I wanted my examples to be from a diverse range of media, so that's how I decided to choose these three in particular. One from DreamWorks, who have been doing a great job with their antagonists. All the examples I just gave, some of the Shen, Grimmel are all great antagonists out of DreamWorks. I wanted to take one from a big blockbuster film, Joker from The Dark Knight. Heath Ledger's performance was just stunning and incredible. And also I'm taking one from anime, which is Johann Liebert from Monster. Do note, everything stated in this film is just my opinion, and not everyone is going to agree with that. And here's the thing, I respect that, and please, if you don't agree with me, please respect my opinions. Don't blast me in the comment section. There will be spoilers for Monster, Puss in Boots 2 and The Dark Knight, so there's your warning. Before I begin, I also want to say that I'm not trying to say that all films and shows need an antagonist to be great. There are so many great films out there that have no antagonist at all from what I remember, and yet they are so great. Some examples, Your Name by Makoto Shinkai, and other Makoto Shinkai films like Weathering with You and recently Suzume all had no antagonist from what I remember. Top Gun didn't feel like it had an antagonist, and yet it was so great. How to Train Dragon, no antagonist, but yet it felt so great. I'm just going to talk about movies that have an antagonist but are being underutilized a lot. Now let us begin.
And here we go.
Let's talk about the introduction of the antagonist. You know what they say, first impressions are very important, and this is also very crucial, especially for the antagonist. If you want the audience to take your antagonist seriously, don't ruin it with comedy. Alright? I know this is obvious, but this is a problem even in a big blockbuster franchise like Star Wars. Look, Darth Vader was a very iconic antagonist, so I'm not going to talk about him. The one that I have to pick a bone with here is none other than Kylo Ren. At the beginning of The Force Awakens, we see Kylo Ren slaughter this guy, stopping a bullet with the Force, all of which are so cool and badass, making him look like a really cool villain and antagonist, standing out. And then Poe starts to make jokes at his mask, and all that tension was just gone. So much potential for his character to be a great antagonist was just gone, really, just because of that. Now let's look at Death from Puss in Boots' Last Wish. We hear a whistle, and then we suddenly see him. As we see him talk to Puss in that bar, we get this, with the smile somehow, we get this really eerie feeling. And by the way, props to the character designer and the voice actor by the way for that. And then when he asks for an autograph on the death sign, we know why he's here and we feel intimidated. He's not here to, he didn't just say I'm here to kill you, he's showing the reason for him to be there, and that's just really very scary. He also defeats this fearless hero, Puss, and makes him so afraid he becomes a lab cat. Great example of an antagonist, an introduction for an antagonist. Another great example, Joker from The Dark Knight. The movie starts with this bank heist and we are just thrusted into this thing. We don't know what's going on here. And then suddenly during the bank heist, we suddenly see everyone killing one another. Especially for the criminals, the burglars, the robbers. And then we know that Joker, the person who orchestrated this entire plan, is a genius because he wants the most profit. So he kills everyone, and the last man standing was none other than Joker. He used these criminals, these burglars, and he used everything for himself. He got all the profit to himself. This shows how meticulous and creative the Joker is at planning. We don't know how far the killing will go either. And this also shows how devious and smart and confident and how scary of a villain he is as well. Now that's an amazing way to introduce your antagonist. Take note to all the writers at Lucasfilm. Now I'm going to talk about the connection between the protagonist and the antagonist. Remember previously at the beginning I said I don't feel a deeper connection between the antagonist and the protagonist of the story. Yep, I'm going to discuss about it here. Many times in films, there feels like there is no connection between the antagonist and the protagonist. Let's take Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse for example, and please, I loved that movie, but I felt that Kingpin was a rather bland and boring villain and antagonist for the story. And here's why. Don't get me wrong, I love the Spider-Verse again, I love that movie, but I felt like it was lacking a good antagonist for the story. Kingpin felt like many generic movie villains for me. Okay, so because of Peter Parker, Kingpin loses his family. So he creates this machine which will cause trouble and just to bring them back, which okay, he's a villain and things like that, and he'll do anything. He'll kill anybody who comes in his way. So my question here is, why is he the antagonist for Miles? What is the connection between them? What makes Kingpin feel like, okay, this is the antagonist for Miles? Nothing. Really, there's nothing. I can take Kingpin out of the picture and put somebody else like Vulture or Venom or Loki and anybody else, and it still is the same thing. Kingpin literally does nothing to stand out here. Now let's take a look at Johann Liebert in Monster. Tenma, our main protagonist, believes that all life is created equal and every life deserves to be saved. Johann, on the other hand, has this nihilistic view that all life but his is meaningless. Well, he wants to be the last man standing on the world. Tenma usually has a positive influence on people and helps people in his journey and shows the good side of humanity for people, especially for Dieter. Johann, on the other hand, makes people's life miserable by showing them the darkness of humanity. As we follow Tenma, we also see him with some of the philosophies he had because he brought back this monster. This creates a deeper connection between Johann and Tenma, and also how Johann makes Tenma struggle internally with his own ideas. Tenma is a doctor who values life, but now Tenma is forced to take a life that he brought back. And it's really tough on him internally. He's struggling internally with that. And this creates a deeper connection between Tenma and Johann. Johann is such a great antagonist, by the way. Now let's look at Joker. Joker is an agent of chaos. Bruce Wayne is Batman because he wants to stop chaos in his city, Gotham. So throughout this entire movie, The Dark Knight, he wants a normal life. He wants to be with his lover. He wants to get back to a normal life. But he cannot because of chaos. And Joker is an agent of chaos. So Joker is what internally holding Batman back from having this normal life. And when Joker makes Batman choose between Harvey Dent, his friend, and his lover, Rachel, you can see what kind of an internal struggle Batman was in the interrogation scene. Joker even literally says, "You complete me." And that shows the connection between Batman and Joker. There's a deeper connection between them. So this is one thing that really solidifies the Joker as the antagonist for Batman here. Same can even be said for Death. Puss had 9 lives at the beginning, so he never feared death. But when he came to his last life, literally death came. Puss, the fearless leader, gone. Not only was he physically defeated in a fight, he was also internally defeated also. I mean, he's never been touched by a sword, but for the first time, he was touched by a sword. And he's getting anxiety. And really, there's just some big themes here, and I really love it. Death was the very thing that Puss never feared at the beginning, and now he fears death. So, death represents what Puss really never feared at the beginning, but now he really fears. Joker is what represents the thing that Bruce hated, and yeah, now he has to overcome it. Johann was the very thing that Tenma feared as well inside. And yeah, but what does Kingpin represent for Miles inside of him? Kingpin is just this big and scary looking dude who does not do much to push our protagonist to the limit. Literally. He's just there to push this. He's just there for the story because they need something to happen, so they brought in him. They brought in Kingpin so something bad can happen and our hero Miles can save the day. That's what it feels like to me. But by the way, I really loved Into the Spider-Verse, just putting it out there. Which brings me to my next point, antagonist pushing protagonist to the limit. Puss was pushed to the limits. The fearless hero who took down a giant without getting a single scratch now fears death. Puss had panic attacks, anxiety and so much thing. He was pushed both mentally and physically. Death was the embodiment of Puss's flaws, fears and weak points. Also for Kingpin, again, I'm sorry if you think he's one of the greatest antagonists ever, but I think it is safe to say that villains of his kind, basically they lose something because of the hero, so they want revenge and want to get back what they lost because of the hero, which we have seen so many times already. So, and Spider-Man Across Spider-Man's, look, the recent sequel, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, I really love the movie, but don't hate me for this, I felt the antagonist there was really disappointing as well. But still, I loved the movie. Johann, on the other hand, screwed up Tenma's life so badly, I don't think I have to say anything. I think you all know. I mean, he lost his job as a famous neurosurgeon, became a fugitive, had to stay on the run for years, made Tenma unsafe everywhere he went, and Johann challenges Tenma's ideal and forces Tenma to do the one thing he does not want to do, which is take a life, especially to take the life of someone he brought back. It has to be tough. I mean, he never wanted to carry a gun. This man carries tools to save lives, doctor's tools, but now he has to carry a gun to kill people, and that's just really sad, man. And these are just a few things that makes antagonists really compelling. There are so many other things as well, like motives. Some people like Joker just want to see the world burn, and some people like Johann want to be the last person standing on the earth. This just makes the character way more scarier rather than just any generic motive that we have seen 1,000 times already. Also, another thing is I believe it is best to give your antagonist not too much screen time and also cloud a mystery around them. Joker's backstory is not very clear to us. Johann also has some mystery to him, and of course Death too. This, again, the lesser the screen time I feel the better, because it doesn't ruin the amount of scariness the character has to himself, the amount of mystery behind the character. And another thing, actions. I believe what an antagonist does is important for us to know how evil he truly is. Like, Johann literally manipulated an innocent child who wants to see his mother, and a detective recovering from being drunk and wanting to see his estranged daughter into suicide, literally. Joker manipulated Harvey Dent, and now Harvey Dent is Two-Face. He's the man who supports justice, the true face of justice, the most crucial face of justice in Gotham, has become a true menace. And another thing I want to talk about is character design. Again, I don't think this is really that important. I think character design should fit the world that your character lives in. Doesn't have to be really scary. Like Joker and Death look very scary, but then again, Johann doesn't look very scary. He's a very charismatic and handsome young man, yet he's scary as well. So the character design has to suit the world that he lives in. And other than that, that's all I have for this video. If you like this video, click the like button. If you want to see more, subscribe to my channel. And again, thanks for watching. You guys are the best. Let me know if you want me to talk about something else, and see you next time.